सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे
गुरुपरम्पराम्
गुरुपरम्पराम्
ॐ सहनाववतु
सहनावतु
सकलं
सहनौ
पुनत्तु
पुनत्तु
सह वीर्यं
सह वीर्यं
कर्वावहै
कर्वावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
ॐ शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति
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 शान्तिः।
हरि ओम् ॐ नमः शिवाय.
ॐ नमः शिवाय।
Okay, so we had been looking at the upasanas and we had completed the first group. Now, actually, we are looking at another group. And why is that so? Because the next one starts with Sarvam Ityakashe. So, why do you say that Akasha is another group? If you look at the earlier ones, you will find that all the earlier ones had got form. They were all the alambanams had formed Sakara, Sa Akara. So, they had a form. And now we are looking at the formless ones, the Nirakara. And Akasha is in the scriptures very often presented as a alambanam for the Brahma Upasana. Why? Because it has many things similar with Brahman, and therefore it makes the mind subtle. And not only that, the entire universe is an Akasha. Therefore, this is a very subtle form of Upasana. Sarvam Ityakashe, everything is Akasha alone. So in this Akasha, Sarvam iti Akashe. Everything is in Akasha. And you have to see everything as Brahman in Akasha. Now, remember from Tattva, Akasha is the Karanam for Vayu, which is the Karanam for Agni. Hence, all the Panchabhutas, if you look, all the four Bhutas, not Panchabhutas, are the products of the first one, Akasha. Therefore, we have this rule, which we have said several times. Karana Rupa Akashe Sarvam Karya Rupa Akash. Jagatati Brahma Upasita. So, as the Karanam, so the Karyam. The Karanam is never really different from the Karana. And since all the four bhutas four elements are also coming out of ultimately Akasha, you should say that nothing really exists separate from Akasha. Akasha represents everything. And why do we choose Akasha? Because as I said, Akasha is extremely subtle. And there are many, many similarities with Brahman. What are they? What can be the similarities between Brahman and Akasha?
Asangha,
Asangaha, both are invisible, both,
invisible,
both are non-tangible,
very
both
subtle.
cannot be polluted,
Sarvagata,
both are all-pervading, both are non-divisible, and both are ekam. And not only that, Akasha accommodates everything. So it's a sarva adharam, the substratum of everything. And of course, you have to say that Brahman also accommodates Akasha. So it is substratum of even Akasha. So there are many, many similarities, and therefore both are very, very sukshmam, very, very subtle. And Shastram says if you focus your mind to train on Akasha, to meditate on Akasha, then you are refining the mind grasp to grasp this expansion. And therefore the mind becomes refined enough to be able to comprehend Brahman. And therefore Upanishad says this is a different group. So now a whole series of Akasha Upasana is being discussed. And in each Upasana, different attributes will be taken and meditated upon. Therefore, it's called a Guna Vishishta Upasana. So, in actually Guna Vishishta Akasha Rupa Ishvara Upasana. The meditation on the Lord in the form of Akasha, which has very many attributes, Gunaha. Right. So, now you look at the rest of the words. Tat Pratishthet Upasita. Pratishtha iti upasita. Pratishtha means support, the adhara. And Shankara here adds a very important note. He says, don't take Akasha as Yada, because the Akasha here refers to Akasha Devata, since it is the Adhara, since it is the Adhishthanam of everything, substratum of everything. Therefore, you have to take it as Chetana Akasha Devata, the conscious Devata, which is Akasha. And if you upasita, may you meditate. And what is that? And once you meditate, what is the Phalashruti? Pratishthavan bhavati. As in every upasana, the phalam depends upon the type of upasana. If it is, if the if there is no sankalpa, if it is nishkamaha, what is the phalam?
Chitta-shuddhi.
Chitta-shuddhi, jnana
Chitta
yogyata.
Chitta Suddhi.
Chitta-shuddhi also called jnana yogyata. Okay. Now, if there is no sankalpa, then it is jnana yogyata or chitta-shuddhi. That is a phalam. But if there is a sankalpa, then the according to sankalpa, you have the particular phala. So if it is sakama upasana, pratishthavan bhavati, he says that akasha is the pratishtha, support. And therefore, this person will have enough support in his life. Right? You don't need to look for external support. As you grow older, even if everybody runs away, Bhagavan will still be there. And again, Shankara adds a note over here saying that this same type of phalam you have to extend to the previous upasanas also. Why does he say this? Because in the previous upasanas, Phalashruti is not there. If you see carefully, in the previous upasanas, Phalashruti is not mentioned. So here Shankara adds, saying that the same phalam has to be extended to all the previous upasanas also. So there's one small grammatical, point here. You will have noticed that some words end with van and some end with man, right? Manavan, Balavan. So some mention ban and some as a small Sanskrit grammar rule that when the word ends in a, then the ending will be van, right? So bala. What is the compound word? Balavan,
But
right? But when it ends in um, any other vowel apart from a, for example, Jyotish. What will be the word? It becomes
Jyotishman.
Jyotishman. So that is a small grammatical rule. When the word ends with a, then the word will become Balavan or similar words. When it ends with any other vowel other than a, it will become man. Anyways, just small point. Okay. Then there is a next upasana coming. Tanmaha ityupasita. So if you break that up, tat maha iti upasita. May you see tat. That is the object of upasana over here, the upasyam, which is the Akasha Devata. So tat has to be replaced by Akasha Devata maha iti upasita. Understand, meditate upon Akasha Devata as the most glorious one. Right? What is the phalam? Mahan bhavati. And meditator will also become very glorious. So, why is Akasha the most glorious? Because it is the fabric of all matter. It is the subtlest form of matter, which you cannot see at all. But it is matter itself, because Panchamahabhutas. Then, the next upasana it comes. Tanmana ityupasita. Tat manaha iti upasita. The idea is the same. Tat means that Akasha Devata. May you meditate upon that Devata as Manaha, as the mind. What does the mind mean here? Mind means the thinking power, the intelligence. So Manute Anena Iti Manaha. That by which you understand anything, that is the mind. So meditate upon that Akasha Rupa Brahman. So when you take Akasha, remember that you are actually invoking Brahman on Akasha, right? So Brahman in the form of Akasha, you have to meditate upon it with having the attribute of thinking power. And what would be the phalam? Manavan Bhavati. He will be blessed with very powerful intellect, easily able to understand everything, right? Therefore, if you are meditating upon Ishvara as the most intelligent one, then what is the phalam? The phalam is that you will develop a very strong, independent reasoning capacity. Again, I repeat, this is Sakama Upasana. If it is Nishkama Upasana, it confers only Chitta Shuddhi. Then Tannam Ityupasita. So Tat Nama Iti Upasita. So let us understood carefully. It is not Tat Annam. It's Tat Nama Iti Upasita. Because you can see double Na is there. So when you break Tat, Nama Iti Upasita. Nama is the obeisance, the namaskara which you give. And therefore, Namyante Asmai Kamaha. That is a mulam, right? Asmai Kamaha Namyante. If you worship that Akasha Rupa Ishvara as the Namaskara principle, then Asmai Kamaha Namyante. All the objects, Asmai Kamaha, which you desire, Namyante, will do Namaskara to you. That basically, it's a very nice way of saying all the objects you will get without asking. But because the person who is doing Namaskara to you is prostrating before you, is serving you. Therefore, Asmai Kamaha Namyante. Meditate upon the Ishvara as the Namaskara principle. And then everything that you want will come to you. Okay. There is a separate interpretation by another gentleman called Sayana Acharya. Right? So he takes this Namaskara not as the uh, Namaskara principle, but he says you take it as a student being under an Acharya. So Vashikarana. Person has surrendered to the Acharya. You take it as that. So according to that interpretation, if you meditate upon Ishvara as this principle of tutelage, teaching, then you will get a very competent guru. So, two different interpretations. But the first one is Shankaracharya's. Then Tad Brahma iti upasita. Tad Brahmet upasita. Tad Brahma iti upasita. You will meditate upon that Akasha Rupa Ishvara as Brahma. Brahma literally means what? One which has got no limit. Absolutely no limits. Very big, no limits. And therefore, what is the phalam? Brahmavan bhavati. He will become limitless. So Brahma has a meaning of pari brhadatamam, which means that which has been expanded to its maximum capacity. No more expansion is possible. And therefore, we take it as infinite. Wow. Okay. Now, the next upasana is Tad Brahmanaha Parimara Ityupasita. You can see all that, right? Tad Brahmana Parimara Ityupasita. So, Parimara is that principle by which everything is destroyed. So, Paritaha Sarvam Mriyante Anena Iti Parimaraha. Therefore, here Akasha is to be meditated upon as what? As Layakarana, as the very destructive agent of Ishvara. How do we say that Akasha can be a destructive agent connected to Tattva? What is
During Pralayam, the reverse happens. So
Very good.
everything goes into
Akasha. So Akasha is the resolving ground for everything, right? So that is how you take Akasha as being the destructive agent of Ishvara. And if you meditate upon this Akasha Rupa Ishvara as Parimaraha, that destructive principle, the destruction principle, then what is the phalam? Paryenam riyante dishvantaha sapnaha pariye priya pratavyaha. All the enemies will be destroyed, right? Paryenam riyante. All the enemies will be destroyed. And the next two words are giving you the classification of the enemies. Dishvanta sapnaha. These are those of your enemies who dislike you. Dishvanta sapnaha. And the other ones, apriya bhratravya, are what? The people whom you dislike. So there are two types of enemies which every person has. The ones who dislike you, this is the first one. Dishvanta sapnaha. The second one is apriya bhratavya, the ones who you dislike. Okay. So Pratravya basically also means nephew. Okay. But here, because of the context, you should take the meaning of Shatru. And Parimiriyate, they all perish. Now, again, from the point of view of the seeker, why all this talk of destruction of enemies? So, the correct interpretation is that enemies are enemies. Why? Because of enmity. That feeling of, I don't like this fellow doesn't like me. So once the enmity goes, then the status of enemy also vanishes. And therefore, correctly speaking, when you interpret such mantras, you should interpret it in the context of the Chittashwati part of the teaching, which means the enmity has to disappear. So worshipping Akasha as the destroyer, you are not destroying your actual enemies physically. What you're destroying is the very emotion, but enmity emotion is there. And therefore, if enmity is gone, there are no enemies. In that sense, enemies are destroyed, right? So people will stop disliking you and you will not dislike anybody. That is the benefit of this pasana. Another interpretation some Acharya has given is that there are enemies that this mantra is talking about, but they are your kama, krodha, lobha, matsarya, etc. Enemies who are born along with your birth. Both interpretations are fine. Okay. So we have seen three groups of upasanas: Adhyatmika, Adidaivika, and Akasha upasana. Right? So with this upasana portion has been completed. And remember that the primary uh, purpose of this section, Bhriguvalli, was to prescribe sadhana for Chittashati, for refining the mind. Once that is over, in the next mantras, we come back to Brahma Jnanam and Brahma Jnana Phalam. Why do we now come back again here? Because this is the repetition to point out that the main purpose of the Upanishad is not just Chitta-Shuddhi. Chitta-Shuddhi is a necessary portion, but the main purpose is what? Brahma Jnana Mano and Moksha. Okay. Then, so Yaschayam Purushe, Yascha Savaditye, Sa Ekaha. That is the next section. And if you remember by any chance, last chapter, you will see that this portion is very similar to the 8th Anuvaka, part of the 8th Anuvaka, second chapter. Small differences there, but the meaning is the same. So, Sa Anandaha, Sa refers to Anandaha. Sa Yaschaya person. The whole breakup is Sa Yaha Cha Ayam Purushe. Sa Yaha Cha Ayam Purushe, where the Sa refers to Ananda. That Ananda obtaining in the Jiva, Yaha Asau, that Ananda, Aditya, is also the same Ananda which appears in Ishvara. The Aditya is this Alambanam for Ishvara, sun god. So that, because Ishvara is very often invoked on the Surya Mantram. Therefore, here Aditya should be taken as Ishvara. So, Saha Yaha Cha Ayam Purushaha. That Ananda which is obtaining the Jiva is the same Ananda which is there in Ishvaraha. And that Sa Ekaha, these two are one and the same. So he's saying the Bimba Ananda in the Jiva and Ishvara are the same. Pratibimba Ananda will vary from person to person and also from person to Ishvara. Saya evam vidaha. The one who understands in this manner, what happens to him? Asman lokat pretya. Very common scriptural phrase. The person leaving this world. So here, the interpretation is different. The person leaving the world, asmat lokat pretya, literally means person leaving this world. But you have to add the word behind for their understanding. The person who leaves the world behind, which means he disidentifies from the external world. So here lokaha represents external objects of the world. Mamakara basically, because all forms of relationships belong to whom? To Sarira. And therefore, when you identify yourself as Atma, you are leaving the relationships behind because only the body has relationships. The Atma has no relatives. Then we go to the next mantra. Etam annamayam atmanam upasankramya. So upasankramya literally means coming out or going away, leaving. But here it means non-identification. Upasankramya. He comes out from that. He comes out from the mistake that the Annamaya Kosha is himself. His identification with the Annamaya Kosha is dropped. Right? Then, so that is the first one. Etam Annamayam Atmanam Samkramya. He comes out of the identification with the physical body. Then Etam Pranamayam Atmanam Upasamkramya. He comes out of the identification with the Pranamaya Koshaha. So it's a gradual process. I'm admitting all. Okay. So it's a gradual process from Annamaya to Pranamaya. And then what happens? Etam Manomayam Atmanam Upasamkramya. It transcends the Manomaya kosha. You have to remember what we talked about the process of when you move from Annamaya to Pranamaya. From Annamaya, first you said, I am the Annamaya kosha. You identified with the Annamaya kosha in the Panchakosha Viveka, right? Then you decided that after due thought that the Annamaya kosha could not be you because it is transient, it is temporary, and so on. Therefore, now you move to the Pranamaya kosha, say that I am the Pranamaya kosha, and thereby reduce the Annamaya to Anatma. That is the process. Every time you move to the next inner kosha, you are converting the previous kosha into Anatma. So etam manomayam atmanam upasamkramya means that he has now claimed manomaya kosha as himself, as Atma, and reduced the pranamaya kosha to anatma. He has already reduced annamaya to anatma earlier. Similarly, evam vijnanamayam atmanam upasamkramya, he transcends the manomaya kosha, comes to vijnanamaya kosha, and he transcends the Vijnanamaya kosha and reduces that also to Anam. Then what happens? Etam Anandamayam Atmanam Apasamkramya. He transcends the Anandamaya kosha also and reduces that also to Anatma. Remember that all these have got the suffix Maya. Maya is indicating that it's a karyam, it's a product. The Maya indicates Vikaraha. So Mayat Vikarate. Wherever Maya is there, a change has taken place, which means that something has changed into this particular thing. Yeah. So all these are Savikaram. And now up to this Etam Ananda Maya, remember it's a kosha, right? All koshas are experienced. All we're talking about what? Pleasure. All the koshas are the pleasure in all the koshas can actually be experienced. And therefore, all experienced Ananda is experienced by you. And therefore, all experience Ananda is different from you. Therefore, all experience Ananda is Atmananda. Not Atmananda, it's Anatmananda, right? Always it is Anatma only. Any Ananda which you experience is Anatma. And that is why we say that nobody can ever experience Atmananda. Because experienced is a past tense. And therefore it has to be associated with the object. Therefore, all experiences are Koshananda. All experienced pleasures are Pratibimba Ananda. And Shankara here comments. He says that by gradually crossing over the five koshas like Annamaya, Pranamaya, etc., he says these koshas are basically arising out of avidya. These koshas are avidya kalpita. They're all arising out of avidya. And while you are crossing over the koshas, what is happening to the upasaka? So up to this is jnana, right? Now jnana phalam is being mentioned. So he says the phalam of this upasana, of this crossing over, is purnatvam in the form of the knowledge that aham purna. And this is called jivan mukti, freedom from samsara. When you have come up to the Anandamaya Kosha, you can experience from there, from Anandamaya Kosha to the next step. There is no experience. There is only knowledge. Because in the next step, you have to claim that I am Ananda. So you have to recall what we did in the Anvamamsa analysis. Then this will make sense. And this form of knowledge that I am Ananda, I am Purna, that is Jivan Mukti. And since now, at this stage, this Upasaka is no longer Upasaka. He has got Jnana. And he has become a Jnani. He has become Jivan Mukti. This is given in the form of a song now. The rest of it is a song. So this is a Samagana, the Atmananda expressed by a Jivan Mukta. And that is why you see those strange expressions. Ha, hu, ha, hu, ha, hu. All these expressions there. And then there are some numbers also. If you see, looking at the mantra pushpam, you will have the numbers of 3, 2, etc. The numbers mean that they are dirgha. The alphabets have to be lengthened. So when it was chanted last time, you all saw that. Yeah. Okay. Then Shankara takes this jnani to be a sannyasi. Okay. In his commentary, he says this jnani is sannyasi, and therefore only Iman Loka on all these worlds, he is Anusancharan. He moves about in all these lokas. Which lokas? Bhulokas, Overloka, etc. Now, we are talking again, there's a contradiction here. There is a jnani, he is in Bhuloka. How is he traveling in all the other lokas? So the answer is given by sub-commentators. Shankara doesn't comment. And sub-commentators say that the jnani knows that there is nobody other than himself. So anybody traveling in any other loka is none other than himself. And therefore it is said that he travels in all the lokas. Iman lokan anushchancharan. Then kamani is the mulam. Kamani means the one who gets annam. Kamataha annamasya ti. The one who gets annam by sheer force of his willpower. Kama rupi. Kama rupi is willpower. So kama rupi. He can get annam just by desiring annam. He doesn't have to go to a shop to buy. And if you have been reading Yoga Sutras and other texts, you know that these are said to be powers of the yogi. Right? So, of course, commenters add over here that jnani need not be a yogi and a yogi need not be a jnani. But this is a very complex interpretation. So there is a very simpler interpretation also. Kamani. Kamani means whatever he gets, kama, whatever comes, he eats. He doesn't complain. Right? And kama rupi, kama arupi, he doesn't have any role to play. So whatever role comes, he plays that role. If he in society has to do puja, he will play the role of bhakta. He will talk about karma kanda if that is what is needed. If he has to teach people, he will teach Vedanta. He will become a guru. If he is playing with child, he will become a child. And this is the actual uh, definition of a jnani. He doesn't have any preconceived roles, right? He enjoys all roles. Life becomes an entertainment for him. Whether he plays the small child or he's teaching a group of highly advanced Vedantics, he enjoys. And since he enjoys all the time, he says, Etat sama gaya naste. Ete etat sama gaya naste. He sings the following songs in the midst of all his activities. Right? The word sama has two meanings. One is song, aste. He lives in this world singing that song. And now from this ha hu up to ye evam veda, just before the last word, in the that is the song. So ha hu ha ahamannam 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 ahamannadaha 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 aham shlokakrit aham shlokakrit aham shlokakrit ahamasmi pratamaja ratasya purvam devebhyo amritasya na bhai यो मा ददाति स इद एव मा आहा अहमन्नम अहम अन्नम अहमन्नम अहमन्नम दन्तम अहम अहमा म म अहम विश्वम भुवनम अभ्य भवाम सुवर्ण ज्योतिः स एवं वेदः. So up to ya evam veda is the song, right? So gayan here means it can be the song, but it's usually taken as a song. But remember that you can be taking it as singing the glories of Brahman also. And since this person is a jnani, when he sings the glories of Brahman, you can say he is also singing his own glories. And whenever this is said, people always ask, is that not ego? Is that not ahankara? Talking about yourself, is it not ahankara? Remember that this is a very Dharma Shastra viewpoint. If you are identified with Anatma, none of these glories can ever belong to me. From the body, mind, sense complex, no glory can ever belong to me because all the glories belong to the Lord. But if I am a jnani, I no longer identify with Atma. Therefore, all the glories of the Lord, of the Atma, they belong to me. And therefore, I can very happily sing it. So that is what is being sung over here. So havu, hav. Now this havu is the Sanskrit word is aho. Aho is used to convey wonder, ashcharyam. And havu is the samagana version of this word aho. So havu has to be understood aho, aho, aho. Oh, wonder, wonder, wonder. What is the greatest wonder? That the Brahman, Brahman, in whom the entire universe resides, I have somehow become a miserable samsari. And there is no logic because by no process of logic, by no process at all, can the infinite become the finite. Nirguna can never convert into saguna through any process. Right? Nirvikara can never become savikara. And therefore, three times he repeats it. Aho, aho, aho. Ahu, ha, ha. To show that it is really in superlative sense of greatest wonder. And therefore, if I, the Brahman, am not this miserable samsari, then who am I? Ahamannam, ahamannam, ahamannam. Right? Here, annam is a product, is the object of experience, the universe itself. And therefore, also, it's a great wonder. that I am Brahman who somehow thinks is samsari, but really speaking, I am the universe itself. I am Jagat, I am Jagat, I am Jagat. That is the three-time repetition of Aham Annam. Again, the three-time repetition is simply to indicate that it's the greatest wonder. And what is more, Aham Annadaha, Aham Nadaha, Aham Nadaha. So Annadaha is the one who eats the Annam. So if Annam is taken as object, then Annadaha is a subject, right? So the experiencer and the experienced. So I, Brahman, who am beyond all these things, beyond any experience, beyond any objectification, somehow I have got converted into subject, object, annam, annadaha, the world and the experiencer. So I am the experiencer as well as the object of the experience. Right? And then what more am I? Aham shloka krid, aham shloka krid, aham shloka krid. So shloka krit is the instrument, the tool, which is the link between the experiencer and the experienced object. Right? To give an example, the link between I, the seer, and the apple, the seen. What is the link?
Uh, do we mean the mind? Or
No, I
what
mean
is
the eyes. The eyes are seeing, right?
Yes, yes.
So the karanam. So remember that
Oh,
experiencer can be taken as karta,
uh,
experienced is taken as karma, and therefore the karanam is what the tool is what links the karta
oh,
and the karma, and therefore
yes.
that experiencer also I am. And of course, this definition is given very clearly by Shankaracharya. He says, Lokaha namaha annat annadayoho sanghataha. The connection between the bhokta and the bhogya. Okay, here remember the word shloka doesn't mean ring mantra. So that you should be very careful. Doesn't mean that I'm the one who writes the ring mantra. Shloka krit can mean the writer of the mantras, shloka. It's not that. Shloka here means the connection between the bhokta and the bhogya. Right? So what is the connection? The tool, the karanam. And therefore, if you take the pramata and the prameyam, the shloka is what? Pramana. If you take karta and karma, the shloka is what? Karana. So he is saying basically, I am the karta, I am the karma, I am the karanam, I am the pramata, I am the pramanam, I am the prameyam, which means I am the triputi itself. So I am the divisionless nirvikalpa aham, appearing as savikalpa jagat. I am that divisionless, all-pervading, eternal Brahman who is now appearing as the changing product, which is the Jagat. And not only that, Ahamasmi Pratamaja Ratasya. What is Pratamaja?
firstborn,
Who is that?
Hiranyagarbha.
Hiranyakar. Therefore, this Jnani in his song, he is saying, "Oh, not only am I Brahman, not only am I the entire universe, not only am I the experiencer and the experienced, I am also Hiranyakar. Right? And where was I born? Ratasya. Ratasya means in the prapancha. Here, prapanchasya. Okay, now this is something which has to be the meaning of Ratasya as prapanchasya has to be borrowed from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Okay, so it's borrowed from there. So Ratasya is taken as Satyasya, right? Rhythm is Satyam, that we know. And Satyam here is taken as Murta Amurta. So Sat, Satya, plus Tyat. Satya is taken as Murtaha, Tyat is taken as Amurtaha. So Murtaha means with form, Amurtaha means without form. Therefore, the whole universe, the Murta Prapancha plus the Amurta Prapancha. So here I was born in the visible and the invisible universe. As what? When was I born? Then that's where was I born is as the Prapancha itself. Both the Avyakta Prapancha and the Vyakta Prapancha is what I am. And then when was I born? Devebhyo Purva. Even before the birth of all the gods, I was born. So that's obviously because I was the firstborn, right? He's talking about Hiranyagarbha. Then Amritasya Na Bhai. So Na Bhai is Samagana speak for Nabhi. What is Nabhi?
Navel. uh,
Navel is
Some.
one,
Yeah.
interpretation, but basically it can be
uh,
taken as a hub, the center. So
okay.
Amritasya Nabhi, I am the immortal center, right, of the whole world. And Yo Maam Dadati, the one who gives me Annam, Ma Avaha, he preserves me, and Maam Avaha, Ma Avaha, Maam Avaha. He preserves me, he saves me, and therefore he is protected by me, he is saved by me, Ida Eva, in this manner alone. So here the one who gives Annam is saving in this manner alone. Right. So instead of saying Annam, he says Ma, myself. Why is that? Because we have to connect this to the earlier part of the mantra where he said Aman. I am Annam itself. Hence Ma means Anna Rupa Ma. Means I in the form of Annam. The person who gives Annam, I protect him. And what happens if you do not share that food? Annam, Aham Annam, Annam, Aham Adantam, Admi. Okay, Dantam, Admi. Aham Annam, Dantam, Admi. So what does that mean? Admi is the one who eats. So Admi is eating. So you can take Admi as destroying. So the Annam, will Admi destroy Adantam. Adantam is the one who Adantam Annam. Adanam Annam. The one who has eaten food without sharing. Right? So the Annarupa Brahman, I who am food, will destroy the one who eats me the food without sharing with anybody else. A very important idea is being conveyed. Annadana. Sure. Then aham bhuvanam abhya bhavam. Aham vishwam bhuvanam abhya bhavam. So aham, I Brahman, Vishwam, the whole universe, entire bhuvanam. Vishwam bhuvanam, the whole universe. Abhya bhavam. Abhya bhavam means to pervade. I am pervading the entire universe. How Suvarna Jyotihi, like the light of the sun, pervades everywhere. Suvarna Jyotihi. And you can take it as the Chaitanya Jyotihi also, the consciousness principle. Ya evam Vedaha, whoever gets this knowledge, doesn't matter what he is, male, female, young, old, whatever, it stops there, okay? So you have to complete the sentence. Ya evam Veda means whoever gets this knowledge. What is the rest of the sentence? Which you have to complete. What is this? You reach the end of the Upanishad. What is
Yeah.
it? Sorry?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't say anything. Actually.
Yeah, evam Veda means literally the one who gets this knowledge. Which knowledge? Which has been laid down in all these three chapters. What happens to him?
He's a jnani, he's a Jivan Mukta.
Oh,
He's a Jivan Mukta, so you have to add that here because sentence is incomplete. Evam Vida simply means the one who gets knowledge. You have to say Saha Muktaha Bhavati. That person will be a jnani. He will not be reborn. Iti Upanishata. Thus ends the Upanishad. And therefore, Sahanavatu, Sahanam, Shanti, Shanti. With this, the Taittiriya Upanishad is over. Any questions? It's one of the most, uh, potent Upanishads. Even though there's only one section on Jnanam, you find a lot of Karmakana material here, which you don't find many, many places. Of course, the Chandogya is a lot of it. Any questions?
sir. So in the Samagana, he is
Yeah.
also lamenting and glorifying both. Lamenting the fact that he is
No, he's not
mistaken in
lamenting.
terms of.
He's
Huh.
saying that people who, I mean, you can take it as he was referring to himself earlier. I thought I was samsari.
Yes,
What a
yes,
what a shame. That is the greatest
ah,
wonder that I, Brahman, how can I think I'm a samsari?
yes, correct. Yeah, right.
So if you're all becoming jnanis, you should sing this song every day. Ahu, ahu. But if you do that in your house, I don't know what will happen to you guys. Okay, any questions? Otherwise, we can close for the day. And next, as we said, we will start with Kaivalya Upanishad. Small one, but a very, very nice one. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Raviji. Thank
Thank
you.
you.